reports. If you haven't finished this, you can come back in the next practice session and finish up. Reports are a lot like forms, with one obvious difference that they're going to the printer instead of to the screen. So to create a simple report, you go to Create. And over there on the right of the ribbon, it says Report Wizard. We'll use the wizard again. Saves us a lot of time and effort. Same idea here. You pick the table that you want and the fields that you want from that table. So I'm just going to do a quick one from, I don't know. Let's just do household, I guess. So I'll pick household ID, city, state, zip code, area code, phone number, whatever, right? So I'm just picking the fields I want to see in my printed report. Here. So this is a simple report based on one table. We'll get to more complex things in a few minutes. Anyway, moving on. Next, how do you want this organized? Now I'm going to pick state here, put that over, and then click on that arrow. And so what it's going to do is it's going to, instead of having them just go household ID number 1, 2, right on and through them consecutively, it's going to take and group them by state. So the first state in my 9-state region is Connecticut. So it'll do Connecticut first, and the next state, it'll do the states alphabetically. So they're going to be grouped by state. All right. So I can do a little bit of grouping here. And then next, within each grouping, within each state, is there some way I want to arrange them? Do I want to do it in, HHID? Do I want to do it on terms, income? I can do it from, most. I can't do income, so I didn't pick income. It has to be one of those fields I picked. So I'm just going to tell it to do it by HHID. I can do it by zip code. I can do it by whatever I wanted to do it. All right. In fact, you can have multi-layers of sorting here. So this is where we're telling how to sort within each state and display that. And then we'll go to next. Again, this is kind of how the report's going to look. This dark area up here, that dark bar, that's the report header. That's the thing. That's that. And then these would be the page headers. And then inside of here, this would be the grouping. So that would be like the state, and then when each that is the details and stuff like that. So this is kind of what the layout is going to look like. So if that's what you want, you pick that. You can go to blocked, and it's a little bit more compact. So you'll save a few pages. If you got a lot of printing to do, it'll save you a few pages of paper. And then if you want to spread it out more to make it more readable, I guess, there's this outline form, and that just spreads things out. Now you can adjust all this stuff once you get to the next step, but if you want to pick the one here because it will save you a lot of time and effort when you do that. So let's just pick sort of the middle of the road one, the stepped one. And if you've got a lot of fields, you might want to switch to landscape, right? So you can switch to this way. If you've got a lot of fields and you want to try to get them all on the page at the same time, but we only have a few fields, so we should be able to get by doing portrait. And go on to next. What do you want to call this report? You can give it some descriptive name here. And then you just say finish. Then it's laying out the form for us, or the report at this point. That's the design view there, but now it switches over to print preview. And so this is what it's going to look like if we were to send it to the printer now, right? Here's our header, and then I said, it's going to do Connecticut first, and if you scroll down a ways, you'll find the next state. So I don't even know what the next state would be at this point. I'm not going to look. Anyway, okay. Now, you can, on the right-hand side of the ribbon, let's say we want to modify this. We want to tweak this. So we're going to close out a print preview. And that puts you in design view. The design view here is the same as it is for forms. It's very complex. It's very cumbersome. It's very irksome. But you can do a lot of things with it. But we're not going to cover that. But it works the same here as in forms. Anyway, what we want is that layout view, which is easy to use. and usually is good enough to do what we want it to do. So over here on the left where it says view, pick layout view. Okay. And now all those things I just showed you in the report work here, or not the report, in the form, I'm sorry. I keep getting too confused. You can move things around, you can resize them, you can put some color in it, you can add a date and stuff to the title. All that stuff from before still works here. So I don't know. Everything looks, if I wanted to move this whole column over, then I could bring it, I don't know. It works the same. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's the same editor, it's the same set of tools. So once you learned it for forms, you know how to use it in reports. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do differently. I'm going to click on the state field, okay, because that's a grouping variable. And notice on the design tab now that totals icon became alive. And so we can do some stuff with that. So for each grouping, we can create a summary statistic. So maybe we would want to have, count records. So so at the end of Connecticut, it'll tell us how many there were in Connecticut, and then in the next state, it'll tell us how many that. Just, maybe it's important for the report. Anyway, that's what that's for. So I'll just turn that on. And down at the end of Connecticut, you'll see that sort of stuff. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same thing here. If you want to add more, if later on you want to add another grouping here, you can do that here. If you forgot to do it, you can group here. But so if you wanted to group within each state by zip code, say, for example, you could do that and turn that on. And then over here on the property sheet on the right-hand side of the screen there, I don't have any data like that, but if we had numeric data and we only wanted to display it as one decimal place or 2 decimal places, again, this is where you apply the formatting of how it looks, not how it's stored. So you can use this again to dress up your printed report to make it look nicer, cleaner, however you want to think of it. So all that stuff's there. On the Arrange tab, I'm not going to talk about that one. The Format tab, again, if you want to do conditional formatting, it works the same here. If you want to add some shapes or colors, you can do that stuff here. A background image, you can do that. And then page setup. This was a great improvement from the last version. The last version, if you didn't pick landscape when you started, you had to start all over. So again, here you got this thing done and you said, oh, wait, it's not quite wide enough to do my fields the way I want to do them. And now you can switch to landscape. And, then you'll have that extra space to do whatever you want to do. So you can switch to that. You can change the margins here, and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So it's pretty much the same. Okay. So that's a simple report. Now, a more complex report works like this. I'll just save that. And now we have a report. Now, and I've already created this one called New England Kids. I'm just going to double click on it. Every time you create a report, it just saves the logic. It doesn't save the data. So that by double clicking on this Any Kids Today, it went back to the database and got a fresh copy of the data so that whatever we print out is up to date. So it's not like you stored a Word document with all that stuff in it and then, you come back tomorrow and it's still the same numbers. This will give, because again, timeliness is an important part of the database. And so here, this is what this one looks like. And it's got all kinds of information in it from 2 different tables, households and kids, and happens to be just for the New England, stuff like that. All right, so that's kind of what it looks like. And easiest way to do this is with a query. And I've created a query already, so just right-click on it and go into Design View. And it looks like this. It's a query that you've seen before. And in here, look, I don't want all the states in my report. I only want households of a certain income. I want to be able to call them, so they have to have a phone number, so on and so forth, right? So I've just applied whatever criteria. If I need a calculated field, I would do that here, and then I can put that in my report too. So I need to do a calculation, like I created, I don't know, a wealth indicator, which is, their household income plus their home value or something like that. And if I needed to calculate that, I would do all that stuff in the query. So you just get everything. So what you're doing is you're preparing a table to be printed. And so you do most of the work here, which is the easiest place to do it. And then you're basically done. I mean, it's the same thing as we did before. You just go into create, report wizard. And up there, well, since I had it selected, it's going to pick it here. But if it's not up there, you just pick from the queries the one that you want to use. Okay. And so this is showing what fields are going to show up in the table. Notice it doesn't have the can call in there because I just used it for selection purposes, and it didn't show up in the output table. So it's really looking at what that query is going to produce, that table is going to produce. So here, all we have to do is just do the double arrow, and we're done. And then you just go to next. And again, because the table's related, it said, okay, I see you've got a one-to-many relationship between the information, a master detail sort of thing. So I'm going to put the master record information first, and then within each master record, I'll show you the detail records that are associated with it. So it'll show us the household information, then whatever kid information we've got for each of the kids in that household, which is what we want. And then next. And it said, do you want to group this by anything else? Well, again, if I wanted to make this report on a state-by-state basis, then I would just pick state. And it'll pull it out of the master section and put it up there as its own little grouping variable, if that's what I wanted for my report. And then you just go to next. The detail side, how do I want the kids to be displayed within each household? And so here we'll just do it from youngest kid to oldest kid. So I'll pick child date of birth. So we'll put them in order. And then next, again, which one of these three templates is closest to what you want in the report? We'll stick with the stepped one. I'm going to switch this to landscape because I think I've got enough fields now that I'm going to need the extra space, because I want to keep each record on a single line, so it's easier to read and stuff like that. So we'll just switch to landscape here. And next, what do you want to call it? I don't know. And I called my New England kids. I'll just call this one household one. Finish here. And again, it's doing all the work for us. It's rearranging things. It's pulling it all together. And there we are. Now we're in print preview. Okay. If I wanted to modify this, I could close out of here, go back to layout view, tweak it however I want. But eventually I'll come back. Well, actually, one other thing I probably should have shown you. So we'll close out of here for a minute. There's this other view here called report view, which is kind of a nice feature. You can actually do filtering here before you send this to the printer. So there's up there, again, I can pick a field, I don't know, like date of birth, right? And then this filter thing comes active. And then I could say, well, I just want, in this report, I just want kids of a certain age, like younger than 10 or older than 12 or whatever. So I can use filtering here. And so I can create a report template, if you will, and then each time I want to run this, I can just pick different things from it. Anyway, that's what the report view does for you. It's new, so you can do that. Anyway, I'm going to switch back to print preview. So this is what it's going to look like when it goes to the printer, and that's pretty close. It's a pretty faithful rendition. So you can look at that and see, and everything fits, except I probably should have, see where it says child gender. Well, it doesn't say quite gender. So anyway, we probably should tweak it, but I'm not going to worry about it. All right. So you can send it to the printer by just clicking on the print button. No need to do that, but that's what you do. Now, you can also send it to other places. Because if you want, for example, you could send it to a Word document over there on the right-hand side of the ribbon where it says More. You can send this report to a Word document, and then you might I don't know, create a phone book or a listing or something. So you're going to want to have like a page of text at the beginning of it, or a cover page for your company or whatever. You want to do something more than this, and you want to do it in Word, you can do that. You can create a PDF out of it, so you can send it up to that. And I'm not quite sure why you'd want to do this. You can send it to an Excel spreadsheet. Just because, I guess. I cannot come up with a good reason why I'd want to do that. But anyway, so we're at the part now where we've built a database, we've used it, we're extracting some information from it, and we want to do something with that information. Well, one of those things you want to do is create a report or send it on to something else, so you can send it off to wherever you want. And the text file is just an ordinary file, so that you can send it off to someplace else and do something more with it. Okay. All right. Any questions about reports? All right. Last thing, I'm just going to throw this one away because I don't need it. Well, it saves it automatically. Anyway, on the external data tab, beginning of the access, we use the Excel button on the left-hand side there to get data from Excel and put it into Access, right? And that's how we populated our tables and did all that sort of stuff. Access is a wonderful tool for storing and retrieving information, but that's pretty much all you can do with it. You can't really do charts. You can't analyze it like we did in Excel and all that sort of stuff. And Access sees the two as being just different parts of the same tool. Okay, so there's a nice integration here. So I've got this New England Kids query, right, that produces this table. And I want to bring it into Excel to analyze it, excuse me, or any table. And I want to turn it into an Excel spreadsheet so I can do something else with it. So I'm just going to pick New England Kids query, and then I'm just going to go to Excel on the output side, which is on the right-hand side, and it says, well, where do you want to put this spreadsheet? And I'm just going to stick one on the desktop. And then, you can change the name of the spreadsheet down there if you want to. And now it's a spreadsheet. And I can do whatever I want to do with it. Okay. So you can that's how you send stuff back to Excel. Okay. And then if you don't want to go to Excel, if you wanted to turn that into a PDF here for whatever, you don't really even care about dressing it up nicely. You can just turn it into, it's going to look just like this, right? But that's all I need. I just put it in a PDF and send it off to somebody. I can do that. And if you want to send it to another Access database, you pick it here, and then you just tell which database, and it does it, and it moves it over to the other database and all that sort of stuff. So it's really easy to move stuff in and out of Access. And the same way of getting something from another Access database. So I would just pick that. I've got another one out there already. So you just pick the other database, and then you can either bring in queries, forms. So you can bring in anything you want from a different database. Here, the only thing I got in that other database is just some tables. It's that canine clinic I started off the semester with. And here's the list of dogs. I can bring that in. And close. And now I have my doggies table in here. So it's real easy to move stuff from Access to Access and from Excel to Access and back. Okay. And they really want you to see the two tools as being the part of the same toolbox. Okay. Questions about Access? All right. The exam. Just we're going to go over that really quickly. You have roughly 85 minutes to do the exam, because I got to split the thing up, the exam period into two parts. So you'll come in, you'll sit down. There'll be a database container in My Courses. It'll have the same structure as this. It'll have the same fields as this, but it'll be a condensed version because it has to be underneath 2 megabytes so that you can fit it back into the Dropbox in My Courses when you're done. So it'll just have fewer records, is essentially the only difference. All right. So when I say, give me, I want to talk about household income or kid drivers and all that sort of stuff, it's all that sort of stuff that we've been using all semester, so you should be fairly familiar with it. All right. I'll hand out my one sheet of paper for the semester, and it'll have a list of things for you to do on it. And, so you'll have to, modify, you'll have to do a little bit of, well, you can look at the exams. I mean, they're pretty much the same. You're going to have to bring in a piece of data, add it to the database container. But that will be independent of anything else. So if you don't get that done, you can just, if you get hung up on that for some reason, you can just go on to the rest of the exam. It won't affect it at all. All right. There'll be a series of queries that you'll have to create for me. And each one else, you're basically creating a table with the information I asked for in it. And then on the sheet of paper, there'll be a place for you to put in how many records were in that table from that query. And then you'll have to, the last part will be, you'll either have to create a form or a report and save that. And then when you're all done, you'll close out of your database container and you'll upload that to My Courses, and I'll grade the thing. Okay. It's open book as before, but again, you're only going to have 85 minutes to do this, so you're going to have even less time to flip pages. Though it's not, well, we covered less, so there's less things I can do. Most people get done or close to done in the 80 minutes, 85 minutes that you'll have. Any questions about that then?
Is it going to be the same length as the ones we have on the service?
Yeah. The only thing, I cut back a little bit this semester. So if I didn't do the if statement, there's it's actually called an IIF, right? Inline if. So there might be a question on the last semester's exam that covered that. But other than that, it's the same. I just took that out because, as you can see, we're pretty packed as it was for this semester. And that's it. Okay. So there's 3 exams for you to practice on. And then if that's not enough for you, in my outbox, because the thing that people typically have the most problems with are the queries. There's another set of queries here in this market practice. There's 32 more queries in there. And so you can do those. And then for each one of these, there's a, let's just do this one, spring, right? Here's the piece of paper I handed out. Here's the database container they got. And then in here is, I went through and I did all the questions and I answered them and left them in there and stuff like that. So you can, check your answers against those. It's whatever I put up. It's whatever's on the syllabus or whatever I said on Wednesday. Because I got 4 sections and I get mixed up all the time. I just know I have to be here on the 16th and the 11th. And there's that alternate time too for people that have got like 3 exams on a day or something. Yes. Send me email if you want to take it, because I got 36 machines. So it'll be like the first 36 people who email me. I've never had more than half dozen show up for the alternate. But I suppose I should be prepared for someday for something like that. Okay? Anything else you guys want to know? All right. So in the last practice for you to do then is there's a form here you need to create. There's a couple of things I want you to do. Oh, don't do 2.4. Skip the last one about importing because I didn't set that part up. Other than that, you can do all the other stuff. Okay. Oh,